Gary Vaynerchuk says the best marketing strategy ever, care. Hello, everybody. My name is Justin Letheby, and I am the eProfessor, and I'm here today to talk about building better, stronger relationships. Um, this has always been an extremely important topic. It has always been something out there that we need to focus on as entrepreneurs, salespeople, team leaders, builders. We have to do this. I'm going to tell you now, I believe this is more important than ever. So I thought we would take a few minutes and kind of just sit there and talk about the importance of why we need to do this, as well as um, really the kind of some of the steps and things to think about and how you want to make this happen. So again, why do we have to? Why is this so important these days? Well, we have a lot of noise in the internet these days. We got a lot of folks that are out there having conversations that aren't always factual, that aren't always truthful. Everything on the internet is most definitely not a real conversation. It's not real. It's not true. It's not correct. Now, there are some truths out there, but there's a lot of misled information out there that people believe are facts. There's also a lot of hostilities these days, right? There is a lot of us versus themisms that exist in the world today that we need to fight over. So I want to give you some really good, strong relationship building techniques, because building that one-on-one relationship, that personal relationship, so they can feel and trust they can ask you any question, is going to be the difference between success and failure these days. And I want you all to succeed. So some of the things we're going to talk about is, how to understand your client, right? Some basic techniques for that, as well as how to build that trust and rapport, as well as then, I'm a tech guy, so we'll talk a little bit about that tech conversation, about understanding your clients. I'm going to tell you, I'm a big fan of active listening techniques. These techniques are really solid solutions for people to go through. Questions is, I'm going to tell you some of those basic questions. I'm going to tell you right now, one of the most basic things I think to do is to focus. Now, how do you do that? How do you focus with folks? One, you look to maintain that eye contact, right? We look right there. We look right at the people's eyes when we do that. We don't get sidetracked. I'm a big disc guy for those eye folks. That's a really hard thing to do. We chase shiny objects. We chase squirrels all over the place. It becomes a hard thing to do. But that really becomes helpful. And I'm telling you, even now with these days, it's a really hard thing to do, because we have this and we have these that are out there, and these are distracting. So I'm not going to tell you to maintain that eye contact, but if you're having conversations, especially with clients and friends, turn off those notifications, silent your phone while you're there. Nothing is more important than that conversation we're having right now. And then use affirmative confirmational techniques, right? Nod your head, smile, use those face mannerisms that we have. Frown, right? If you not understand what's going on, frown, right? These things are out there. Now, also, I want you to stop and just listen, right? I mean, I know this is listening, active listening techniques, but I want you to stop and listen. What I want you to do is, don't think about how you're going to answer the question, or don't think about what you want to say. Just listen. And then what I want you to do is reflect back on that and ask questions to them. I want you to sit there and come out there and rephrase the question. Maybe you need to say it in a different way. So, hey, so what I'm hearing is, or what I'm understanding you say is, did I get it right? Right? If I do these kind of steps in here, they're going to take that back out there. And I'm going to tell you, really, to be honest with you, it's a really great technique, because we don't always understand, and we sometimes think they're saying something else, and it gives them an opportunity to clarify and correct. And then always ask open-ended questions. Do you agree? Yes or no? What do you think about? How do you feel about? What's your goal? Right? These kind of questions that exist out here are going to be very, very helpful for you to make sure you're giving them opportunities to talk about themselves or the topics or their passion or whatever it is, especially when we're talking for my realtor colleagues out there, mortgage folks, inspectors, when you're trying to understand who they are and what they're doing, it's going to help a ton. And I want you to also very much try to not interrupt these folks. Interrupting is a big challenge. It's definitely a big challenge for me. I get excited and I want to share and I want to do this stuff. Sometimes it's just about showing back. And really, the last thing I want you to think about is I want you to think about how to um, show that empathy, that sympathy, and then or try to understand what's going out there and make there and try also when you show empathy not to show judgment. It becomes a really big challenge. Again, so much in this day, we get so much information, we get siloed in our worlds that we do have very strong and very passionate beliefs about what we do. And I do never want anybody ever to lose those passion about those things that they are passionate about. But I do want you to try to hold back judgment. I have a short reel, whatever you want to call it, in my streams. I have never watched Ted Lasso, but I do love this quote that he had in there while playing darts. Be curious, not judgmental. And I think that's always a great perspective out there. So the first thing I always want you to do is do that active listening. The next part of understanding your client is know your audience, right? Now, again, I'm a big disc guy, and you can come back and look at all my videos that I do on disc because disc is a huge proponent in my business all day long. DISC is a behavioral assessment. It's based on 4 qualifying characteristics of your behavior: DISC, drivers, influencers, steady, stables, and compliant. We are made up of all of these characteristics. We are usually dominated or charged by a couple of them. And these controlling, dominating, charging factors will help you understand when you look at these folks to understand how you need to communicate back, how you need to intake the information. Just as a short example, I'm a very high I. I'm also a pretty high S in this world. And when a D comes at me very aggressively, it can be very stressful for me. So I have to learn to either come back with the same energy or just simply understand that it's not a personal affront. It is a different challenge. And each profile has a different take on this stuff at all times. So when we're building those relationships, that's one of the things I want you to do is I want you to understand your clients, do some active listening techniques, and take classes about knowing your audience. Take those discs or whatever the tools, there's colors, there's Myers-Briggs, there's all sorts of them out there, Strength Finder. Take the one that you want that makes sense for you. Like I said, I'm a big disc fan. If you want to know more about it, reach out to me. I'm happy to have those conversations for that. So the next part is building trust and rapport. And I'm going to tell you, first impressions make the world for this stuff. And I'll be honest, it's a challenge for me at all times. I have very certain beliefs about how I want to dress, how I'm comfortable, not how I'm comfortable being there, and how you dress appearance wise is important. But it's also important is how confident you are, right? You don't want to come out in shorts in a professional venue necessarily, but you do want to make sure that you are comfortable in what you look like and how you present yourself, and that the people that are taking you when they look at you are are impressed by you. They're not having a different thought in their head for these kind of conversations. It's definitely gonna matter, and you really want to make sure you put your first foot forward, that best foot forward. So make sure when you meet people, right, you got that handshake ready or that greeting, that whatever you do that's out there. Remember, we have different cultures in life. So it's not always a handshake, but whatever that greeting, that confirmation, that process for first steps, you have a system in place. Some of the things that I like to do is I use a technique always within the first few minutes is I try to get through what is called FOR, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And these 4 questions that I'm trying to ask at all times and learn about them has always given me a really good insight. And it helps them, because I do truly want to know this, it helps them truly understand that I care for them and that I want them to know that I'm there and I'm listening and I want to hear them and I want to help them. I'm also going to tell you, for building that trust and rapport, having a consistent communication process is going to be extremely important. How often are you texting, emailing, calling them, stopping by, whatever it is that you are trying to do? Also, what is the communications what is the communications that you're having? What is those themes, messages, branding that you're trying to get across? Your branding, your unique selling proposition. We're hearing it a lot lately. Let's have that unique value proposition. What is it you're doing? Um, I did a quick little short the other day on this. I'm going to tell you one brief aside about value propositions. It's very good to know who you are and what your value is. And I think it is golden once you do know how to do that. But don't forget to understand your audience and do make sure that your value proposition aligns with who your audience is. It's extremely important for you. So please understand that when you're doing this, you're having that. And so when you're having those consistent conversations, making sure that that value proposition, that branding matches what you're doing and who you're communicating with. Now, the last is be you, right? Be authentic to you. You're trying to build an audience of know, like, trust. And those know, like, trust folks are only going to work with you. So, like, we're going to talk technology here in a few seconds, but um, building AI, if you don't teach it how to talk like you, communicate like you, it's not going to do any good. You hire third party social media companies that just mass produce content. That's great. It's out there. It's valuable stuff. But when they talk to you, it's not you. It's not your stories. It's not your values. And you do want to make sure that you are building your stories, your values, and they understand that, and that you are genuine for their world. There's a really good book that's called Influence by Dr. Robert Cialdini, depending on how you want to say it, Cialdini. Just a really good thing. And it's got several principles about influence. But one of the big things that he says in this book several times is any of those principles will get negated and you're done forever if it is not authentic, it is not genuine to who you are. Once they discover that, it's done. And you'll see this time and time again. So whenever you are having these conversations, make sure you are being true to you. Um, doesn't mean that you can't change and improve and do a lot of stuff like that, but that's one of the things that you want to make sure you do. Now, the next one is leveraging technology. And one of the things that I will tell you in here, as far as that goes, is that, like, especially when we start talking about communication. Sorry about that. I had to pause real quick. I had a coughing attack. s- Leveraging technology is going to be huge, especially when we're talking about the communication that we just got done talking about, being consistent. You're going to need some sort of systems in place to get that done. Having a valuable CRM system out there is huge. It's also good to be able to start tracking and managing those client relationships, right? You can put notes in there so you can remember if you don't have that kind of memory. A lot of us don't. And again, it's not inauthentic when you're writing notes and you come back and review and, oh, hey, Tommy talked about this, or Billy talked about this, or Margaret talked about this, whatever. You can come back and revisit those conversations. Um, it also helps with a lot of these CRMs. We can personalize the conversations. There's really neat technology out there that will help you master and get to feel like when everything you write is very personalized for the client. It matters for that, right? It's a very amazing tool. And then also, sometimes communication doesn't have to be directly towards the person, but it could be to the audience at whole, your niche, your niche, the people you're trying to network with. So having that social media tools out there, identifying which tool matters for your audience. Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Is it TikTok? Is it Snapchat? What is it? And be in there and be consistent and be intentional about having those tools in place will help you have a relationship building with that stuff. There's a lot of really good. Sorry about that, folks. I just got back from a convention. I seem to have caught a lovely little bug that just wants to catch up on me every so often. So I apologize that. And you'll have noticed throughout this training and this little stuff, you will have seen a couple of different bumps here and there because I have actually tried to pause my stuff so you didn't see all of it. But when you're talking social media, there are very good internet marketers out there that have built a huge and very strong following of folks that are just there building that, and they feel like they've done such a good job of being present in the social media that they have felt like these people know them, right? And they want to be a part of their lives. And you can do the same thing, right? So building those relationships that way can be helpful. But there are techniques for that, right? You got to post. You got to know what your clients value, your customers' value propositions are, what they want, what their needs, what their cares, what their concerns, what their dreams are. We need to know that. And then we got to give value for that stuff. Gary Vaynerchuk has a very good book called Jab, 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 Right Hook. It's an amazing book. And this book essentially talks about the perspective of giving before asking, right? Give value, give value, give value, ask, right? Type of perspective. So make sure you do that. And I would recommend that book. And you'll see it in my YouTube description down there below. And you can take the link and go click on the book and do whatever you want with it. But you can also use a lot of virtual tools out there, right? We have Zoom, we have Facebook, we have FaceTime, we have Duo in the Android world. All these tools can let you connect and chat with them visually. And again, I will tell you right now, you could do just quick little reels to these people and just send a quick little message to them and build that FaceTime. Most people like the video these days. More and more people are watching the videos. Have that engagement with them. Have that conversation. For a team that I am a part of, we use a tool called Marco Polo. It's been great. We video chat back and forth. It has been one of the best and more effective ways for me communicating with some of the team members. And it's been an amazing tool for that. So there's a lot of tools out there that you can use for that business. I do hope, folks, this has been extremely helpful for you. Again, we just talked about some really basic points out here today. We talked about the fact that it is important to have and understand your clients by doing some active listening and knowing your audience. And then we also need to really focus on building that trust and rapport, making sure that our first impression is right on and that we have a consistent communication strategy and then that we're true to who we are for our client's perspective. And then lastly, we talked just a little bit about technology, some basic strategies out here today, CR system, social media, and using some of the virtual tools that are out there. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I really enjoy you all being here and talking to me and being in person. And if you ever do have questions, you can always reach out to me. You always can write in YouTube. That's where I watch this stuff, but these videos are on other platforms. That's when I do it from. Make sure you come in there. Please be out there, be intentional, go build those relationships. You build those relationships, you will have a successful career in your industry. Can't wait to see you guys soon. We will see you at the next session.